Good evening, my name is John Duffy. I'm going to go ahead and just throw it out there right now. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not really in anything. I guess I'm kind of the radical candidate.
Chairman, can we have some order?
Let's have order, people. You want to discuss something, take it outside. Thank you.
Thanks. One of the things I've been finding frustrating about this entire process so far is I feel that every forum I've been to, every event, the way questions are asked and what is asked, everything comes defined by a certain set of premises, and then I feel trapped and bound by those premises when it comes time to answer the question, and ultimately I don't feel like I satisfactorily emphasize how I feel about a lot of things. And that can be really frustrating. A lot of these premises typically revolve around things like growth is always good, or job creation is always good, or development is always good. And then you get trapped into this sort of box where you have to try to make it yourself appear like you support those things, which circumstantially, most of the time I actually think I reject those premises. And I think it's also really frustrating because a lot of times the questions we're asked seem to come from a place of this sort of entitlement in people where they say things like, how are we going to fix traffic? And they want more roads, and they want to pay to have businesses come here, and they want to pay to develop the town and make it bigger, and then they get mad when there's more traffic, as if we have the right somehow innately to get wherever we want to go in an expedited fashion. And I think a lot of times the things we do, or the city council does, or the sort of governing body does, ultimately creates the problems that we then later want solved, and then in these forums we have 30 seconds to talk about these things and pretend to be experts and pretend to have all the answers. And I think any sort of complex problem typically has a complex answer, and these things are typically best figured out in groups and talking to people who are intimately involved in those things. So to sit here and pretend in 30 seconds or 45 seconds that I have the absolute answer into how to make everybody's life more affordable, or how to make their how to make houses cheaper in a certain sector of town, it's impossible. And I don't want to pretend that I have those answers when I don't. And I don't want to just throw out slogans and phrases to try to impress anybody. Ultimately, I think there's a lot of external factors that affect us locally that just completely get negated or ignored. I mean, we talk about affordability, but I mean, what are we going to do to decrease the things that people spend most of their money on? The cost of food, the cost of fuel. When the price of oil goes up and everyone who is like me and makes less than $25,000 a year, if you got to cross town in a car, spending $3 or $4 or $5 on gas, it's going to have a bigger effect necessarily, especially when you're a renter like me, than on property taxes per se. So these things have extremely complex answers, and I would just like to say that I'm coming at this from a perspective that is not of the status quo. I'd love to talk to anybody about anything they want to talk to me about after the fact. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
On the one concerning the 10-1 plan and all that, essentially, I'm one of those people who never votes. So I'm one of those 93 who didn't show up last time. And the reason is I'm one of those people who just does not feel that it matters. I've never felt that it had anything to do with my life. And you might go shame, 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 but clearly 93% of the population feels the same way I do. Why is that? Now, when we say, we want to change the numbers this way, instead of 7 people representing 800,000, we're going to have 10 people represent 800,000, and one of them will live 5 blocks away from you, and all of a sudden it'll get better. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Are we trying to change the actual program? Are we trying to change the actual behavior and decisions made down on the city council? If so, great. Or are we just trying to improve the validity and get more numbers out? Are we trying to make those numbers go up so we can kind of say, all right, democracy's working? If the people of Austin really want that, and it gets put to a referendum, if I were there, sure. I think it should be completely up to the people of Austin. If that's what they want, that's how they want to run the show. If it makes them feel better, great, do it that way. Oh yeah, this is great. I'm glad you asked this. The RICA forum, that was terrible. That was awful. It made me feel just gross. I needed a bath afterwards. It was, that was, I'm sure you're familiar with who they are. A couple hundred rich people sitting around. I just wanted to talk to the waiters and tell them I knew how they felt. One of the whopping 2 questions we got asked was, a long-winded way of basically asking, what can you do for us? Local ordinances slow down our businesses and make us make less money in a smaller amount of time or whatever. They were basically asking, what would you do, with the premise being that yes, I would do something if on the board to help them out. And I wish I would have just basically answered that my job on the city council would not be to help you make money. Now, yes, there are probably certain local ordinances that you know, might be, you know, need some retooling, and on a specific basis, one-to-one, I mean, sure, let's talk about those things specifically. But in general, if they want me to help them cut down 100-year-old trees so they can make more parking lots, they could go fly a kite. I think that's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking it. Absolutely. They absolutely need more attention out there, and I think one of the best things we can do is give those people that community, and I mean that in the most literal sense. Give those people who live in the areas that are more impoverished lands, structures, things that are out there that are unused, underused, give them to them and let them start cooperative businesses, businesses that they own, and so they can start things like grocery stores, local farms, start eliminating some of the food deserts that exist in more impoverished areas, give them communities, let them decide what it is they think they need, and let them and help them come to the best way to build those things themselves so they can own them, and then that brings together community and also helps to provide for things like security, because you bring out the older generation, the younger generation, everyone gets together, people start to know each other, and it really can strengthen an area. But I would absolutely focus on those things. Poverty is a disgusting thing. It's illegal in this town. The fact that we have homeless people being ticketed for falling asleep in parks, stuff like that is ridiculous. We give them, yeah, whatever. Thank you.